Ava Gardner, from Hollywood goddess to dying penniless. Grabtown, North Carolina, 1922. A baby girl born in a wooden house with no electricity, no running water. Parents grew cotton. Annual income, $300. 7 children sharing boiled sweet potatoes every day. That's a level of poverty we can't imagine today. 20 years later, that little girl stood on a Hollywood red carpet in a Christian Dior gown worth $10,000. Frank Sinatra held her hand. Her face graced 37 magazine covers in 1 year. MGM Studios paid $200,000 for one film. Life magazine called her the world's most beautiful woman. From cotton fields to the pinnacle of Hollywood, a fairy tale come true. 37 years later, London, 1990. A one-bedroom apartment rented for $400 a month. Pension, $800. Cancer medication, $600. Leftover, $200 to live on for the entire month. 3 ex-husbands, all gone. No children, no grandchildren. On her 67th birthday, only one phone call from the housekeeper. How does a woman fall from such heights? The answer lies in the memoir Ava wrote when she knew she was dying. She opened a suitcase of jewelry, gifts from Frank Sinatra, Howard Hughes, the most powerful men in the world, and she decided, I'm not selling the jewelry, I'm selling the truth. The truth about the night Mickey Rooney cheated while she was recovering from surgery. The truth about the 2 children she never had because of Frank Sinatra. The truth about the night a drunk man held broken glass to her and screamed, "Marry me!" And today, you'll hear it all. From cotton fields to Hollywood, a childhood of hardship. Ava Lavinia Gardner, born December 24, 1922, Christmas Eve. The 7th child of Jonas and Mary Gardner. The family lived in a wooden house in Grabtown, a town so small it didn't appear on most maps of North Carolina. Jonas Gardner grew cotton on 50 acres of leased land. Every harvest season, he sold cotton to textile mills. But after paying land rent, seed costs, and picker wages, the family barely had enough left to buy rice and sweet potatoes. When Ava turned 3 in 1925, a fire destroyed the family's cotton warehouse. An entire year's harvest, 2 tons of cotton, turned to ash in one night. No insurance, no compensation. The Gardner family had to start from zero. Then, in 1929, the Great Depression hit. Cotton prices plummeted from 18 cents to 6 cents per pound. Jonas Gardner worked every day from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., but still couldn't feed his family. In 1938, Jonas Gardner died of pneumonia. He was 62. No money for treatment. Ava was 15. Mary Gardner, a 52-year-old mother, had to work as a housekeeper for wealthy families to feed 7 children. She cleaned hotel rooms, washed clothes for others, cooked in restaurants. Ava often said, "I didn't need to act poor, I lived it." And that poverty created something Hollywood couldn't teach: a desperate hunger to escape. The photograph that changed everything. 1940. Ava's older sister, Beatrice, married Larry Tarr, a photographer in New York. Beatrice moved to New York, and that summer, Ava came to visit. One day, Larry Tarr saw Ava standing by the window and said, "Let me take some photos of you. I'll display them in the shop to attract customers." Ava was 17, 5'8", long brown hair, green eyes. She wore a borrowed dress from her sister, stood before the lens, and didn't smile. Larry Tarr took 12 photographs. He chose the 3 best and placed them in the studio window on 5th Avenue, Manhattan. 2 weeks later, a man stopped in front of the shop. He stared at the photograph for 5 minutes. Then he walked in and asked, "Who is this girl?" The man was Barney Darnell, an MGM office worker in New York. He immediately called lawyer Al Altman in Los Angeles. July 1941. Ava Gardner was invited to fly to California for a screen test. She arrived at MGM Studios in Culver City. Screen test room. 15 people sitting behind a table. Blinding lights. Ava stood before the camera, trembling. The casting director gave her dialogue from a script. Ava read. Her southern accent was too thick. She pronounced can't as caint, I as ah. They turned off the camera. The director shook his head. The voice won't work. Too country. But then Louis B. Mayer, the MGM mogul, looked at Ava's photo and said 6 words that changed everything. She's this beautiful. Who cares about her voice? August 23, 1941. Ava Gardner signed with MGM. Salary, $50 a week. Terms. MGM owned all rights to her image, name, and private life. Today we call that an employment contract. In 1941, Hollywood called it ownership. MGM owned Ava Gardner like property. The training years. The first year in Hollywood, Ava didn't appear in films. MGM sent her to acting school, taught her to walk, taught her how to speak. Teachers taught her to hide her southern accent, how to sit, how to stand, how to smile for the camera. Ava's first role, an unnamed girl in Babes on Broadway in 1941. Screen time, 8 seconds, no dialogue. In 1942, Ava played 6 supporting roles, all unnamed. Pretty girl at party, girl in restaurant. MGM paid her to appear and look beautiful. But then, in 1946, everything changed. Director Robert Siodmak chose Ava for the role of Kitty Collins in The Killers, adapted from Ernest Hemingway's short story. This was her first leading role, a dangerous, seductive woman who destroys men. The film premiered in August 1946. Box office, $2.5 million. The press called Ava the discovery of the year. Time magazine wrote, "She doesn't act. She exists on screen like a natural phenomenon." After The Killers, Ava received 30 scripts in 3 months. MGM raised her salary to $1,500 a week. In 1951, she starred in Showboat. In 1953, Mogambo with Clark Gable, earning an Oscar nomination. In 1954, The Barefoot Contessa, the pinnacle of her career. At her peak, Ava Gardner earned $200,000 per film, equivalent to $2.3 million today. But beauty and fame came with a price no one warned her about, and that price began with the first man. The end and the motivation. Let's fast forward to 1988. Ava Gardner, 65 years old, living at apartment 34, Ennismore Gardens, London. A 1-bedroom flat, rented for $400 a month. No more California mansion, no more New York penthouse. March 1988. Doctors diagnosed terminal lung cancer. 40 years of smoking, 3 packs of Winston's a day. Her lungs were destroyed. Pension from Screen Actors Guild, $800 a month. Medication, $600. Rent, $400. Total expenses, $1,000. Income, $800. Every month, she was $200 short. 3 ex-husbands, all gone. Mickey Rooney, divorced since 1943. Artie Shaw, divorced since 1946. Frank Sinatra, divorced since 1957. No one sent money. No one visited. On her birthday, December 24, 1989, her 67th birthday, only one phone call from the housekeeper, Carmen Vargas. January 1990, Ava opened her jewelry case. Inside, a 5-carat diamond ring Frank Sinatra gave her in 1951. a pearl necklace from Howard Hughes in 1945, a platinum bracelet from George C. Scott, estimated value $300,000. She could sell them, pay all debts, buy medicine, live comfortably her final years. But Ava didn't do that. Instead, she called Peter Evans, a British journalist who had interviewed her in 1980, her voice hoarse from cancer. "Peter, I have a story to sell, but you must write the complete truth. No hiding anything." Peter asked, "Where do you want to begin?" Ava answered, "From Mickey Rooney, from Artie Shaw, from Frank, from all those who destroyed me." That's why we have this memoir. Not because Ava wanted fame, she was already famous. Not because she needed an audience, she needed money to survive her final months. And she decided, if she had to sell something, she would sell her own story. The Dark Secret, Mickey Rooney. Top of the list. Ava wrote, "The first man is always the most memorable, not because he was good, but because he taught you that love can be a lie." 1941. Ava was 19. Mickey Rooney was 21, but already MGM's biggest star. He played Andy Hardy, the perfect American teenager in a family film series. Salary, $150,000 a year. 5'7", energetic, always smiling. The entire studio adored him. Mickey met Ava for the first time in the catwalk practice room. He stopped, looked at her, and told someone nearby, "That girl will be my wife." The next week, Mickey invited Ava to dinner. She had never dated anyone, never kissed anyone, still a virgin. They dated for 3 months. Mickey bought roses for Ava every week, took her to Hollywood's most expensive restaurants, called her his angel. January 10th, 1942, they married in Ballard, California. Small wedding, only 12 guests. Ava wore a simple white dress with no bouquet. In her memoir, Ava wrote about the wedding night, "I knew nothing about it. Mickey had to teach me. He was very patient. That was the first night, and perhaps the only night, Mickey Rooney truly loved me." 3 weeks after the wedding, Ava discovered Mickey was dating a dancer named Judy. 4 weeks later, Ava found a love letter from another girl. 5 weeks later, Ava's friends called. "I just saw Mickey at a restaurant with another woman." Ava confronted Mickey. He laughed. "You think I'll only love you? You're too young, you don't understand men yet." February 1942. Ava had severe stomach pain. Doctors diagnosed acute appendicitis, needed immediate surgery. Ava was taken to the operating room. Mickey promised to be by her side. After surgery, Ava woke up in the hospital room. Mickey sat by the bed, holding her hand. "You're fine. I'm here." Day 2. Mickey visited for 10 minutes, then left. Day 3. Mickey didn't come. Day 4, the nurse said, "Your husband called. He's busy filming." Day 5, Ava checked out early. She took a taxi home. Opened the door. Strange perfume smell. Messy bed. On the pillow, a long blonde hair. Ava wasn't blonde. When Mickey came home, Ava asked. Mickey didn't deny it. He said, "You were in the hospital. I was lonely. I needed someone." In her memoir, Ava wrote, "At that time I thought it was my fault. I thought I wasn't good enough, not attractive enough. I tried to become more seductive so Mickey wouldn't have to find someone else." But Mickey didn't stop. In the following months, Ava learned Mickey was simultaneously dating at least 4 women: a dancer, a model, an actress, and even Joan Crawford, a 37-year-old star, 16 years older than Mickey. May 1943, 16 months after the wedding, Ava filed for divorce. Reason? Cruel behavior causing mental suffering. MGM didn't want scandal. They paid the press to stay silent. They forced Ava to sign an agreement not to speak badly of Mickey publicly. Ava stayed silent for 45 years, until she wrote the memoir. She wrote, "Mickey Rooney was the first to teach me that a man can say, 'I love you,' while lying in bed with someone else. That was a lesson I would have to learn again and again throughout my life." Artie Shaw, the man who made you doubt yourself. After divorcing Mickey Rooney, Ava focused on her career. She didn't date anyone for 2 years, didn't trust men anymore. But in 1945, she met Artie Shaw. Artie Shaw, famous band leader, talented clarinet artist, 6 feet tall, handsome, intelligent, read Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Nietzsche. He was 35. Ava was 22. They met through a mutual friend, actress Frances Heflin. Artie had just returned from World War II. He told Ava about Paris, about philosophy, about art. Ava was mesmerized, not by Artie's looks, but by his intellect. For the first time, a man didn't just talk about her appearance. Artie talked about ideas, about literature, about the world. They dated for 6 months. Ava moved in with Artie in Beverly Hills. They married October 17, 1945, a private wedding at Artie's home. The first week was happy. The second week, too. But the third week, Artie began to change. He looked at Ava, reading Photoplay magazine, and said, "Why are you reading that garbage? Why don't you read Dostoevsky?" Ava said, "I've never heard of him." Artie laughed. "Of course not. You only know Hollywood. You don't know anything about real literature." Another time, Artie invited friends over. They talked about philosophy, about politics. Ava sat silently. She didn't understand what they were saying. After the guests left, Artie said, "You embarrassed me. You sat there like a statue. You didn't say anything." Ava asked, "What did you want me to say?" Artie answered, "Say anything intelligent, but you have no intellect. You only have looks." Those words hurt more than Mickey Rooney's infidelity, because Mickey betrayed Ava's body, but Artie Shaw destroyed her soul. Ava began to believe she was stupid. She stopped talking at parties. She sat silently, afraid of saying something wrong. Artie bought books for Ava, Tolstoy, Shakespeare, Freud. Ava tried to read, but she didn't understand. And every time she said she didn't understand, Artie would say, "Because you're not smart enough." In her memoir, Ava wrote, "He made me believe I was completely worthless. I was beautiful, but brainless. I acted, but only because of my looks. I wasn't worthy of him." Ava started smoking more. 3 packs of Winstons a day, drinking, gin, scotch, anything to forget the feeling of worthlessness. Then one day, a friend of Ava's said, "Why don't you take an IQ test? Prove to Artie you're not stupid." Ava took the test. The Stanford Binet test, the standard IQ test at that time. Result? IQ 120. Above average, higher than 90% of the population. Ava brought the results to Artie. He looked, then said, "So what? You still have no culture. IQ is just a number." That's when Ava understood. Artie didn't want her to be smart. He wanted her to always feel inferior. October 25th, 1946, exactly 1 week after their first anniversary, Artie told Ava, "I've met someone else. I want a divorce." That someone was Kathleen Windsor, a writer, author of Forever Amber. Ava signed the divorce papers. No arguments, no demands for money. She just wanted to leave. In her memoir, Ava wrote, "Artie Shaw was a different kind of abuse. He didn't hit me. He attacked my self-worth, and those wounds took longer to heal than any bruise. Today, we have a name for that behavior: gaslighting, making someone doubt themselves. But in 1945, people just called it male temperament." Frank Sinatra. Love and destruction. Ava first met Frank Sinatra in 1943, when she was still married to Mickey Rooney. Frank was singing at a nightclub. Ava sat in the audience. Their eyes met. But nothing happened then. 6 years later, in 1949, they met again at a party. Frank was 34, married to Nancy Sinatra, with 3 children. His career was declining. Record companies rejected him. His singing was no longer as popular as before. Ava was 27, at the peak of her career, just divorced from Artie Shaw, didn't believe in love anymore. But there was something about Frank Sinatra that Ava couldn't resist, perhaps because he didn't try to impress her. He didn't compliment her beauty, didn't talk about her career. He just said, "I like the way you look at me." They began dating secretly. Frank was still married. The press followed them everywhere. Paparazzi photographed them together. Scandal erupted. Nancy Sinatra read the newspapers and learned of her husband's affair. She went to meet Ava and said, "He'll never leave me and the children. You're wasting your time." But Nancy was wrong. February 1950, Frank announced his divorce. He chose Ava over his family. November 7th, 1951, Frank and Ava married in Philadelphia. Small wedding. None of Frank's family attended. They hadn't forgiven him. The early days, they were happy in a crazy way. Frank wrote songs about Ava. He sang "The One I Love," dedicated to her. Every night he called Ava from wherever he was performing. But both had hot tempers. Both were jealous. Both drank too much. One night, Frank and Ava drove from Palm Springs to Los Angeles, both drunk. Frank pulled out a .38 revolver from the glove box. Ava grabbed one too. They shot out streetlights, shot out store windows. They laughed like it was a game. Ava wrote, "That was the night I felt most alive, and also the night I realized we would destroy each other." November 1952. Ava became pregnant. Her first child with Frank. She was 30. But at that time, Frank was filming From Here to Eternity, the last film that could save his career. If Ava had the baby, she would have to stop working. Frank would lose her income. Frank said, "Get rid of it. Now's not the time." Ava had an abortion at a clinic in London. In her memoir, she wrote, "I my first child for Frank Sinatra's career." June 1953. Ava was pregnant again. This time, she wanted to keep it. She told Frank, "I want to have a child with you." Frank said, "No, not yet. My career is just starting to recover." They fought for 3 weeks. In the end, Ava had another abortion. She wrote, "Second child hurt more than the first, because this time I knew what I was doing. I couldn't blame anyone else. I chose Frank over my own child." Those children, if they had lived, would be about 70 years old now. Ava never forgot them. Their marriage fell apart after that. Frank was jealous of every man who looked at Ava. Ava was jealous of every woman who sang with Frank. They fought, smashed things, drank until they passed out. In 1953, while filming Mugambo in Africa, Ava had an affair with actor Robert Mitchum. When Frank found out, he called Ava and threatened both her and Robert. Robert Mitchum told Ava, "Get in a fight with Sinatra, one of you will. I don't want it to be me." Then he ran. October 1953. Ava attempted with sleeping pills. Frank flew from New York to Los Angeles, saved her. They tried to continue, but it was too late. October 27, 1954. Ava announced their separation. The divorce was finalized July 5, 1957. But Frank never forgot Ava. In 1960, Frank married his third wife, Mia Farrow, but he still called Ava. In 1976, Frank married his fourth wife, Barbara Marx, but he still kept Ava's photo in his wallet. May 1998, 1 week before Frank Sinatra died, he called for Ava. But Ava had died in 1990. People said Frank cried when he learned that. In her memoir, Ava wrote, "Frank Sinatra was the greatest love of my life. But the greatest love isn't always the best love. We loved each other in a destructive way, and in the end, we destroyed each other. George C. Scott, The Night of Terror. After divorcing Frank Sinatra, Ava never married again. She was 35. 3 failed marriages. She decided not to believe in marriage anymore. But she still dated. In 1964, she met George C. Scott, a talented stage actor. He had just played General Patton, the role that earned him an Oscar nomination. George was 6 feet tall, deep voice, intelligent. But there was one problem. He was an alcoholic. They dated for 6 months. When George wasn't drinking, he was sweet, caring. But when he drank, he became someone else. One night, December 1964, Ava and George were at the Beverly Hills Hotel. They went to dinner, drank alcohol, a lot of alcohol. Back at the hotel, they argued. About what? Ava couldn't remember. Maybe about a man who looked at Ava. Maybe about Ava wanting to go home. George yelled. Ava yelled back. Then George smashed a bottle on the table. The bottle shattered. Glass shards flew everywhere. George grabbed a piece of the bottle, the neck still sharp, and walked toward Ava. In her memoir, Ava wrote details about that night. George pushed Ava onto the bed. He knelt on top of her, his knees pinning her down. His right hand held the broken bottle, bringing it up in front of Ava's face, just inches from her eyes. He screamed, "Marry me." Ava tried to push him off, couldn't. George swung his left hand and Ava in the eye. One punch. Her eye swelled immediately. "Marry me. Do you hear me?" Then he punched again, the same eye. Ava screamed. The person in the next room heard and called security. When hotel staff banged on the door, George finally let Ava go. Ava ran into the bathroom, locked the door, looked in the mirror. Left eye swollen and bruised. From her lip, hands shaking. Police arrived. They asked if Ava wanted to press charges. Ava shook her head. Because if she pressed charges, the press would know. MGM would know. Her career would be affected. So Ava said, "Nothing happened, just bumped into a door." The police looked at George C. Scott, a man 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, then looked at Ava with her black eye, and they knew the truth. But they did nothing. Because in 1964, domestic violence wasn't a criminal offense. It was just a family matter. Ava ended the relationship with George C. Scott after that night. In her memoir, she wrote, "I finally understood. I was addicted to dangerous men. The ones who hurt me most were the ones I couldn't leave. Until that night. The night I thought I would die." The friend who warned her, but there was one person who saw it all coming. Lana Turner, Ava's best friend since 1940. 2 girls who started their careers at MGM together, who went through failed marriages together. Lana married 8 times. She understood men, and Lana had dated both Artie Shaw and Frank Sinatra before Ava met them. In 1945, when Ava told Lana she was going to marry Artie Shaw, Lana held Ava's hand and said, "Honey, don't do it. I've been with him. Artie will make you feel stupid. Every day he'll tell you you're not smart enough, not cultured enough, until you believe it." Ava didn't listen. In 1949, when Ava said she loved Frank Sinatra, Lana warned again, "I've been with Frank, too. He'll break your heart. Frank doesn't know how to love without destroying. Leave while you still can." Ava still didn't listen. In her memoir, Ava wrote, "Lana warned me about everything. She had been through what I was about to go through. But I thought I was different. I thought my love would change them. I was wrong." Ava Gardner died January 25, 1990, in London. She was 67. Terminal lung cancer. 3 people attended the funeral: housekeeper Carmen, a friend from Spain, and her lawyer. No Mickey Rooney, no Artie Shaw, no representative for Frank Sinatra. Frank sent a bouquet of white roses with a handwritten card. "I'm sorry." Too late. The memoir was published in 1990, after Ava died. Title: Ava, My Story. Peter Evans wrote it based on 40 hours of interviews. In the final pages, Ava left a message. "I don't regret loving them. I only regret confusing passion with love and pain with devotion. If there's one thing I want to tell young women, a man who makes you cry more than he makes you laugh is not your soulmate. He's just your lesson." And these are the lessons Ava paid her whole life to learn. Lesson 1 from Mickey Rooney. A man who says he loves you but isn't faithful is not your man. Lesson 2 from Artie Shaw. A man who makes you doubt your own worth is not a man you should be with. Lesson 3 from Frank Sinatra. The most passionate love isn't always the healthiest love. Lesson 4 from George C. Scott. When a man raises his hand to you for the first time, that should also be the last time you see him. Ava Gardner went from the cotton fields of North Carolina to the heights of Hollywood, then died alone in London. Not because she lacked talent, not because she wasn't beautiful enough, not because she wasn't lucky enough, but because she believed a man's love would complete her. And she spent her whole life searching for that in people who could never give it to her. But there were Hollywood stars who found true love. Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier, 26 years of happiness. Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, 50 years never leaving each other. What was their secret? Were they just luckier than Ava? Or had they learned what took Ava a lifetime to understand? True love doesn't break you down. It makes you whole. If you've ever loved someone who made you doubt yourself, you're not alone. If you've ever stayed with someone even though you knew you should leave, you're not weak. You're just learning the lesson Ava Gardner paid her entire life to teach us.